Kathy Griffin is an actress and best-selling author, Emmy-winning star of Bravo's My Life on the D-List. She joins us now here in Los Angeles. First, a couple of opinions on what's been going on.
First of all, how am I the most sane person on this entire show? Look at this lineup. This is a comedian's dream. You got Dr. Laura, who I believe is a botanist. I'm not sure what kind of a doctor she is. And then you've got Blagojevich, who I really enjoyed on The Celebrity Apprentice, but who's just on tape trying to sell that seat. And how do I get that one guy who convinced the other 11 that the tapes weren't real?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry. We're here about Prop 8. But let's admit this is an action-packed show.
All right, I got to take a break, but quickly, what do you think of Laura's leaving radio?
Fantastic. It's about time.
What do you think of the Blagojevich verdict?
It's hung in a way that is suspicious to me, and I'm from Chicago, and I say that with love and a sense of humor.
Suspicious in what way?
Really? There's a tape of the guy trying to sell the seat, and the jury's hung?
Do you suspect something?
I think I know what I know, and I know a guy who called a guy who might talk to a guy, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago. What's the problem?
We'll be back to talk about same-sex marriage next. We return with Kathy Griffin, who is the comic actress and best-selling author and the Emmy-winning star of Bravo's My Life on the D-List. By the way, that's up for an Emmy, which we congratulate you, the end of the month. You submitted...
In fact, the episode deals with Prop 8.
That's right. You submitted. That's the Norma Gay episode involving your opposition to Prop 8. During that episode, you visited an LGBT center for teens. Here's an excerpt. Watch.
If you could, each one of you, say one thing to that person who voted for Prop 8, meaning against gay marriage, what would you say to that person?
I think I'd say to them, well, thank you for denying me the ability to write whoever I love now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean...
For taking away my civil liberty.
Yeah, thank you for taking away that.
I have to say, who are you to deny somebody their happiness?
Why are you so strong on this topic?
Because I think it's a civil rights issue, you know, and it was interesting when, I'm not going to call her Dr. Laura because I don't have proof, I'm just going to say Lori. When Lori Schlessinger was here, and she was talking about special interest groups, which I believe she meant the entire African-American community, but that's another story. To me, this is a civil rights issue, and even though I'm a heterosexual, you know, female, I am kind of immersed in the gay community, and I tour this country all the time, and I meet many, many, you know, gay couples, straight couples, and I think it's honestly no different than interracial marriage. And it's shocking because people forget that within my lifetime, in my generation, you know, it was illegal to have a mixed race marriage. And when I think about that, I think, oh, that must have been a century ago. Well, it was 1967.
Correct.
So I think that the ruling yesterday will prove to be on the wrong side of history. On the other hand, I think it's probably good it's going to go to the Supreme Court, because I get nervous with this let's let the states decide, because then if you're married legally in California but you cross the border, then you lose your rights.
But this is a conservative court, the Supreme Court.
Yes, well, that makes me very nervous. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Supreme Court. I don't trust them. I didn't enjoy the last president.
How about those who say marriage is a sacred thing for man and woman? It's about procreation.
Well, it's not, because first of all, the divorce rate is high, and I say that as a bitter divorcee, because you know I have a very unusual stance, which is that I'm pro-gay marriage, but I believe that heterosexual marriage should be a criminal offense. Because I'm divorced, I'm a little bitter.
So that's Proposition 9.
Proposition 9. But the point is, we've learned that, you know, when it became legal in Massachusetts, the sky didn't fall down, everybody's fine, everyone's fine in Iowa. And so I think, you know, just like Brown versus Board of Education, people were scared about that ruling, nothing bad happened, in fact, good things happened. So we've learned that historically, sometimes public opinion can, you know, take a little time to catch up with quite simply what is right. And I think that this is just an issue of right and wrong. I think it's pretty simple. And
we will debate that issue coming up in a little while. Some more moments with Kathy after this. We're back with Kathy Griffin. What is this symbolism here in that picture? What is that?
That means that gay people should not be silenced. It also means, of course, I won an Emmy. But more importantly, the symbolism is lots of people are doing them. It's the duct tape, which is that obviously a ruling like yesterday's ruling is a way to silence the gay community, put them on hold. Well, we have to think about this more. Let's decide in December. And so the duct tape just simply represents the gay community and not really having a voice. And that's really what this debate is about, is Prop 8 is about gay marriage being equal for everyone, as opposed to civil unions, or, well, we're going to give you some rights. And the 14th Amendment isn't about some rights or some equality. We don't get to pick and choose. We have to be equal.
What's the essential difference between a civil union and marriage?
Well, what I didn't understand is that civil unions and marriage, there's 1,100 different rights that you don't get under a civil union, and that if you cross state lines, that's what makes me nervous. So let's say that it's legal in Massachusetts, but then you cross state lines, and then you're not recognized, and then your partner, God forbid, goes to the hospital, and then you can't visit them because they say, well, in this state, we don't recognize you as being married. The bottom line is, I really think most Americans, especially younger Americans who are voting, need to know that they should go to congress.org, which is a nonpartisan site, and let their representatives know that this is an important issue to them. And basically, you're not going to get my vote unless you're on the right side of this issue.
A recent CNN opinion research poll shows there's a big difference between how younger and older Americans regard same-sex marriage. 58% of those under 50 think it's okay. Only 38% over 50 think it's all right.
Right. Well, but what's different about that? I mean, that happened with race relations and every kind of civil rights. And you know, one person who really, I thought, articulated it well was when we did the Prop 8 episode on My Life on the D List, there were some things I learned that were really great. Number one, I met with Al Sharpton, who, you know, people, you know, he's quite an out there character, but he's a very bright guy. You know him very well. Right. And when he was able to articulate so well how it's a civil rights issue, then I was able to go back to my heterosexual friends and say, you know, this isn't really such a gay thing. And I know you think it's just that I know a bunch of gay people, but it's really a civil rights issue. And also when I interviewed, as you saw in the clip there, 18, 19-year-old LGBT lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender kids who had been kicked out of their homes just because they had come out to their families. So they didn't have a roof over their head just because they said, I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm lesbian. And so they weren't even aware of Stonewall or Matthew Shepard. They were just trying to keep a roof over their heads. And so getting them to go to their first rally in Sacramento was a really big deal, because these younger people need to know that they do have a voice and a vote, and it will be heard.
Were you surprised that the three-judge panel didn't allow the marriages to take place?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I think, like I said, I think that Judge Walker will reflect upon this and see that he was on the wrong side of history. But I also like to think that there's optimism. And then when it goes to the Supreme Court, obviously that's going to be quite a debate. And
is it?
Well, it's not the Jimmy Carter years anymore. So things are very different now. And also, obviously, those of us that are immersed in the gay community and believe in civil rights of all kind, you know, we're really hoping and pulling for President Obama to do the right thing. And I think it's obvious he's under a lot of political pressure that this could be considered political napalm. And yet, I think that your own polls show, I don't think President Obama's going to lose an election over this. I'm actually kind of optimistic that a lot of people, it's sort of not on their radar, as opposed to maybe 20 years ago where they thought that
but
you could catch gay.
He could sign an executive order and throw out don't ask, don't tell. But he wants
he needs
Congress
to do
it.
I know, but he should do that.
That's a cop-out?
Yeah, it's a cop-out. He knows it. They know it. They all know it.
Couple other things before you leave us.
What?
Are you brokenhearted over the fact that first that Levi and Bristol got back together?
Wow, you're really going there. If you're going to pull a Diane Sawyer, I'd like the fuzzy lighting, because I didn't know you were going to just cut my heart open on this show.
When he announced he was back with her.
I'm glad that you can't even say her name, because I can't either. I know it's something like a vacuum cleaner brand. Yeah, I've been dumped,
Okay.
Larry, and it hurts.
But he's not with her now.
Don't play games with my heart, as the Backstreet Boys would say, if I can quote them again. Stop playing games with my heart.
But it changed. Now he's not with her.
You know
he fathered a child with someone else.
Okay, you don't get me, all right?
I don't.
Levi Johnson ripped my heart into pieces, and you're just sitting there cold as ice. I was this close to living in the White House, And if I had been first lady or whatever I would have been, if I would have kept, sleeping with Levi Johnston, I would have made gay marriage legal.
But
Because let me tell you, gay guys like him because he's hot.
you could have been the first lady of the mayor of a city.
I think that could still happen. And let me tell you, we are going to gay up Wasilla if I'm the first lady. It is going to be literally just one endless stream of me officiating gay weddings. By the way, I was supposed to go officiate a gay wedding after this.
I know, I heard,
so I'm
right?
disappointed.
Yeah.
I know. The gays have to wait once again.
By the way, one other thing on Levi, have you called him?
I'm doing something called The Rules. I think Dr. Laura, or whatever she is now, big internet book writer, would agree that there's a lot of possibilities out there for me.
You don't think she's a doctor?
I wouldn't go to her for a pap smear.
On that note,
What?
thank you for joining us again.
Always a pleasure.
Always funny. Kathy Griffin.